I expect the crowd to be a little bit quiet for these first few as they kind of catch their breath after that horrific injury. People always talk about, sports jiu-jitsu is not that dangerous or not much of a real fight, but that's a horrific injury, and that's just how serious some of these locks can be. Sometimes we lose sight of that. This matchup is going to be very, very interesting styles. Wrestler, explosive, kind of unorthodox game coming from Jared against the classical jiu-jitsu of Eduardo. Jared's, I think, going to be very, very cautious approaching the guard of Eduardo. I think Eduardo is just going to try to pull in and get connections to try to pull Jared into kind of a jiu-jitsu match and not make it a scrambling wrestling match.
Eduardo getting a really strong 2-on-1 here.
Jared doing a good job wedging the knee in.
Getting a good knee cut, but it looks like he's got a straight ankle grip that he potentially might fall back
Jared gets in on the leg. He has a tight bite. We'll see if he can get through. He's going belly down. Eduardo doing a good job. Now he's all the way through.
Wow, great job by both competitors. An
I'll tell you,
attack.
after that last match, watching somebody caught in a leg lock, not happening. I give Eduardo some credit there.
To say the least.
You could feel tension in the crowd when he got in that leg.
That's a good point. It just goes to show the experience of Eduardo here.
Yeah.
Comfortable in really, really deep waters.
Again, a black belt with the credentials he has, there's very little he has not seen or experienced in his career. A lot of times with a grappler like Jared, again, who has a more unique style and a more kind of outside-the-box style, it can sometimes present problems for the more experienced black belts. He's not going to do things in kind of the prescribed response that like another more traditional jiu-jitsu athlete will pull. And that's going to, like that foot, the way he sat for that foot lock is a unique, kind of almost like a Boston Crab style straight foot lock.
Seems to be the theme is going to be Jared doing some stand-up, kind of long-distance passing, and Eduardo is going to be playing his open guard here.
Now, what was interesting was Jared had that very kind of takedown heavy, kind of explosive movement, heavy match in the first match against Zach. This match is so much less pace because Eduardo is not playing into those wrestling exchanges with him and just comfortable here. For the top wrestler, obviously doesn't get to necessarily do his game, but this is a kind of a pace that Jared can control. He's kind of deciding when they're scrambling and when they're not. So for energy expenditure, he can kind of save up and then explode and then kind of reset. If I'm Eduardo on the bottom, I might want to be a little active, trying to like attach just like that, to not let him settle, make him play jiu-jitsu, make him kind of move with you. That's where in the gi you have the sleeves and the collars to control. When you take that off and we have no controls, you really have to get a full body attachment, especially as we get sweaty. I'll be interested to see if Jared uses those connections to attack the legs or actually try to pass. It seems like Eduardo is going to be a very tough grappler to pass against. Legs might be an easier path. Coach Asher Darmo, just as we were talking about, said he needs to get that connection. I completely agree with Asher. And the mercy fingers, while it's a connection, it kind of limits both people. The collar ties, I think, are a better look for Eduardo. But he does look very relaxed. Now Jared jumps in on the neck, but Eduardo gets on top. Jared is not going to settle for that.
This is the explosions that we were expecting from Jared.
And that's where the wrestling kind of power game of Jared is. He was not going to settle for the bottom position. Eduardo is going to have to throw his hips in and then risk the fire that Jared can bring in that spot.
Jared really keeping his distance here, really making sure he doesn't step his feet in too deep. He's very, very cautious of going into the guard of Eduardo here. Which rightfully so. Eduardo's been showing a lot of threat in his guard throughout this whole tournament, and specifically in this match alone. have yet to really see either of our competitors get to a deep position that they're trying to get to yet.
We're halfway through. Obviously, Jared had the 1 footlock attempt better than that. We just had a couple exchanges where neither guy could really establish much solid. And Eduardo shoots, but gets stacked.
Throws his legs up, but recovers after the pass attempt.
We've had a few of these scrambles now where one guy attacks, the other guy counters beautifully, and nothing really is gained or lost in the exchange. A lot of respect from both competitors.
Very nice grip.
A little nice foot sweep there by Eduardo. Got the elevation in the legs. The only problem with that kind of foot sweep is if you're not really looking to commit to the hard wrestle up,
sure,
you're kind of just off balance. And it's good to keep him on his toes and keep him honest, but I think Jared would actually really like a wrestle up so he can go for the neck like happened earlier.
Sure.
I think Eduardo wants that wrestle up only if he's going to get to the back.
The second Jared came down to his knees, Eduardo came up for that, a little bit of a chin strap.
Yeah.
You can see that he's really throwing everything with the kitchen sink at Jared here, trying to really, he's throwing his hips up, he's really trying to get some sort of a connection, but Jared is making it very difficult for him to establish any sort of an attack here.
And this is that that kind of situation we sometimes talk about in sub only, and like Jared is not forced to engage.
Sure.
But at the same time, when you choose to sit and not wrestle, this is the problem. We saw it in the opening round. Zach knew that Jared would have a similar style and continue to get back to his feet and force the wrestling exchanges. So he had a good chance to connect and kind of get into deeper positions, which can be a dangerous situation, but it forces Jared, who's trying to use his wrestling as a tool, to not be able to rest and control.
Sure.
Because just as the pace and the positions we're at, it's going to be hard to see either of them getting deep unless one really changes their strategy. As I say that, Eduardo actually looked to try to kind of pull him into a more closed guard as Jared came down, but he just immediately pulled out as the legs started to climb.
About 2.5 minutes left in this match here. Jeff, if this goes to OT, who would you favor so far in regards to?
It's hard to say because, again, Eduardo, I think, is newer to the system of EBI, but watching his first match with Brandon, he seemed to get more comfortable in it as the rounds went on. Jared has definitely been here before. Again, I think it's kind of like we're here now. It's going to be contrasting styles. I think if we go to overtime, Eduardo is going to kind of look for a more traditional back control or arm lock control, and I think Jared's going to be looking for explosiveness. Armbar attempt.
Eduardo's doing a really, really good job of throwing the sub-attempts, and then on the contrary, Jared's doing a really good job of countering them, but is not able to really establish a good control position because Eduardo is just doing a good job with his recovery, just being really slippery, being difficult to deal with on the bottom. Lots of hand fighting this match.
Eduardo looking for that arm drag as Asher called it out.
He was able to create a nice scramble or a sequence off of the arm drag earlier in the match, so that could be a very good option for him.
Again, I think that's almost what Jared is kind of wanting him to come up and wrestle with him. But the threat of it, again, it's like the foot sweep he did earlier. Those are good threats to keep him honest. But you need to chain those up and decide what you're going to do off them if you don't want to wrestle from there.
Sure.
And 30 seconds left in the round. Looks like we're going to be heading to overtime. It also would just be interesting to see who they give the control to. Jared had the one nice footlock attempt very early, but since then, Eduardo's been definitely more aggressive in his attacks.
Sure.
Never really getting anywhere, but he has thrown up some arm bars and triangles. Jared's had a couple diving knee cuts, but again, other than that first footlock, neither guy's really gotten close to anything.
good scenario where
Eduardo
Eduardo
going
could
for the
absolutely
leg
get
as time is running. And that is right at the buzzer.
right at the buzzer.
That probably will swing
Could give him the
the advantage. Not that it matters that much. They both have equal chances in the OT. We'll see what Eduardo chooses. It looks like Eduardo's going to go back. After that quick escape by Brennan, there's one attempted arm at spiderweb. I think he realized that back is where he wants to be.
Sure. Well, and he showed some really, really strong back control in his earlier matches too.
Again, when you have a pedigree like Eduardo, back is somewhere he's incredibly comfortable, and he's just got precision from his controls there. Again, EBI is a little different than just normally getting the back. Jared is not moving a ton, which part of it's due to the body triangle and choke attempt, but as opposed to that Nick Creighton, that Cantwell match, there's not a lot of, that is a face crank, it looks tight.
Jared doing a really, really good job of controlling the secure hand. The choking hand is deep.
But just a one arm, and he has a decent shoulder misalignment to get away from the choke.
Good defense in the choke there. But Jared's going to have to start creating some movement here if he wants to get out of this ride time situation.
Sometimes it's always an interesting decision too, in that depending on how much gas Eduardo goes for trying to finish a choke like that, it sometimes can hurt you. There's a nice body triangle from Eduardo. That's going to slow this game down. Asher Dormo asking for a face smother, a muffle, which again is a great option if your opponent's not giving you that access to their chin or their neck. Covering their mouth to create a reaction is definitely something that makes anyone uncomfortable and tired. And we are now getting deep into this first 2-minute ride time. Whether it gets the sub or not, Eduardo now has a really, really nice start with ride. There's not a lot of time left.
Yeah, Jared seems to be really focused on the hand fight right now. He just doesn't seem to be doing much to address the body triangle.
And again, that one-arm choke attempt, I think, really made him realize that he's got to be safe first. Escaping is great, but if you get choked, no point. And Jared gets survival, but he gave up a full 2-minute ride. So we'll be interested to see if he opts for spider web or back. It looks like back. Oh, he's going to go armbar. So he's saying, I'm not going to go for the ride time. I'm going for the sub. And again, because in the opening round, Brandon Wilson attacked all 3 rounds on Eduardo's arm, you are wondering if his arm is tired from that early ride. Hand on the mat. You got to have one hand on the mat as the attacker. You can't start with both. Jared is a big, strong guy, so he can have a lot of horsepower into this armbar. He does a good job getting up and stepping over. This helps take some of that gravity advantage away, but his arm is caught at a tough angle to actually pull out right now. Jared wants to pull him back down, swim his head under the leg, and swim him down. He may go belly down all the way through, which is what he's looking for.
It's a very, very good position for Jared.
It's a lot of pressure on Eduardo's arm. He's not really in danger of the submission currently, but it's a lot of pull pressure.
Eduardo's doing a good job of putting his body in the proper position. But it's really tough to just get that elbow out of there sometimes.
This could be one of the rare full ride times from Spider-Man. I do not see it a ton, but it happens occasionally here.
That arm looks like it's slipping.
The arm is starting to come out, but Eduardo's able to connect, and he gets out.
Beautiful escape from Eduardo. Great attack from Jared as well. Man, what an exciting round.
So Eduardo definitely has the ride time advantage after the full ride, but it's not as big as we could have been from a spider web, and he has to feel slightly. I mean, both guys need to feel slightly gassed after that scramble. So Eduardo goes back on the back.
Let's see if he'll be able to rack up another 2 minutes of the ride time, or if there's going to be a lot more movement from Jared on bottom this time.
Yeah, and you know Jared just basically wants to get to his attack to attack that arm another time. Now Jared, a lot more mobility this round.
He's got to clear that right hook. Excuse me, the left hook.
This is not an easy position for Eduardo to hold. It's not an easy position for Jared to carry a 185-pound man on his back.
Edward does a really good job readjusting to that body lock.
And he's able to hold Jared back down, which is a big advantage for Eduardo. But he still can't get the second hook in. Jared looks to be able to scramble, but Eduardo's not settling. And there's the escape.
Slowly but surely, Jared gets that back.
He's got to think he's going to do the same arm bar on the same side to try to warrior that arm out. This is where the strategy comes in. You put that same pressure on him.
Looks like he's going to opt for the armbar again.
Honestly, he's doing a different arm. I'm surprised.
I wonder what the strategy is behind that.
I don't think he realizes it's a different arm. I think Eduardo turned his body the other way. And I think that's a smart strategy.
Eduardo immediately getting to a good stack position. It's going to be very, very difficult for Jared to finish this without sweeping.
He's looking to lay two sweep, though. Again, we get to that side angle. This is where he made the arms separate for a second in the first round. We'll see if he can do the same thing. He should belly down. If he can go all the way over his shoulder and get belly down, he's going to have a lot more pressure on Eduardo's arm. He's kind of lost the connection in the arm. The arm is still stuck, but he doesn't have that deep shoulder control because of Eduardo's angle. Eduardo knows he's in a good angle to where it's going to be hard for him to finish. But the arm is still slightly in jeopardy. There's always a... There it is.
Beautiful escape.
So we're going to go into the third OT. Both guys look pretty tired. But I'll say Eduardo looks a little bit fast, a little bit better shape as of right now.
Eduardo's staying very, very patient in that position. Really just picked the right moment to get his elbow out of there. So a little bit more like the first round where Jared's kind of focusing on more of the hand fight and the choke than he is worried about the body triangle.
It might be a case of he's tired from those attacks.
Sure.
You know, he used a lot of pressure, a lot of work in that second overtime, both defensively and offensively.
Edward readjusting with the post very, very well to get that readjustment on the back.
Eduardo now has a full locked-in body triangle with the triangle on the top side with the traditional ride. This is a very good control position for him. He should really get a good ride here. Jared's going to have to do a lot of work just to prevent the ride, let alone fight the choke. And he already probably has a significant ride time advantage.
He's coming up on about a minute of ride time right off the bat. I definitely think that, you know, as this OT continues, I think that that's going to be the strategy for both guys. I think that Jared's going to have to get the finish here, and I think that Eduardo's really looking for the ride time for the win here. We're going for a little bit of a face crank here. Eduardo doing a good job at not just controlling, but keeping some pressure and a threat from the back as well. Not letting Jared really relax, giving a good squeeze on the diaphragm. Jared doing a good job of getting both of those arms under his armpits so he doesn't necessarily have to worry about the choke. But in this scenario, he's going to have to start really addressing this body triangle and getting back to the mat.
I've talked about in past events, at this point of your Jared, you almost be like, hey, let's just relax right out the 2 minutes.
Sure.
We need a submission anyway. As long as we defend the choke, don't move.
Save your juice.
Save your juice for that last little give in the armbar. Because again, at this point, you know, saving an extra 20 seconds of ride time isn't particularly.
That's 2 minutes.
Yeah. He knows he's got. This is it's armbar against finish. If he gets the armbar, he wins. If Eduardo gets out, he wins. It's cut and dry. Interesting. He goes to the back. Very, very strange or very interesting choice. After all that work, kind of holding the arms. I mean, Jared, obviously, he's out there. Maybe he felt something we didn't or can't see. And you got to go for the choke. Holding here does not help you at all. So you got to kind of sell out and go. He gets the body lock.
Yeah, Jared, he absolutely needs to be super aggressive with the attack here.
Yeah. If I were him, I like the body lock, but Eduardo knows he just needs a hand fight. I would be digging the legs. I'd be maybe going for something like twister or reverse triangle, something.
He's creating some movement, that's for sure.
Eduardo's going to get out.
Is that the arm triangle? No.
There's
Beautiful
the
escape. There it is. Eduardo gets the win.
Eduardo's going to move on into our semifinals.
Very, very good match from both guys. This is
obviously
a very strategic, tactical approach.
The thing you have to think about is after that grueling fight and not too